both the internal and external parasites, then ticks are a problem. Especially if you're raising goats in places where there are other animals and other people do not take care of their ticks. So these ones roam around and they pick up ticks, so we tend to do this on a weekly basis, spraying. We have a pump there that we use. It's a bucket pump. You put it in a bucket. You need 2 people to operate it. In some cases, for people who have a lot of money that use a dip, there are some smaller dips you've seen for a cow. There are those for goats. They are very small. But also the spraying can be mechanized. We used to have a spray race for goats. The goat just enters into it and then it's sprayed and then it walks out on the other side. But here we use the manual. You get the bucket pump, put your whatever you've mixed into the bucket and then you spray. Now some people use a knapsack sprayer. That's not appropriate because it does not generate enough pressure to penetrate the coat. But I see people using it, and I guess that's because of poverty, right? If you can't afford the other one, I think the bucket pump is about 100. It's now 170,000, which you can use, and it works for a while. Then replace some parts, and then it works again. So once you take care of internal parasites, you take care of external parasites, then that's about the biggest threat that you'll have. Then with the pneumonia, that one comes in and out. Hygiene is good, not a big problem, but it comes in. And you'll find quite a number of drugs. There are some other bacterial infections that come in, and one of the drugs that at least everyone should have is pen strep, that every farmer tries to use to take care of all other bacterial infections. There's quite many. And pen strep seems to be something that you have to have all the time. There's a question somewhere? So, penicillin.
It's a penicillin.
We'll see, we'll get there. We'll show you what these drugs look like. So in terms of management, usually people ask me, how many, and those who want to start especially, how many goats can I put in an acre or something like that? It's a very common question. And I always ask them back and say, how much feed do you have in an acre? Because the area doesn't matter. The goats do not eat your area, they eat what is in there. So you might have an acre. If it looks like this, you can put 1 goat. That would be a recommendation. So it's how much forage do you have and how much feed do you have for the goats will determine how many goats you can put in an area. Now, one of the things you should know that these goats eat about 3 to 5% of their body weight daily, and they would require you to give them water, 3 to 5 liters of water per goat that is mature. Most people say, I've never seen goats drinking drinking water. I say, because you never give them water. They conserve water based on the characteristics that you see of the feces. This is a very efficient animal in terms of water use and water retention, but occasionally they need extra water, and we normally recommend 3 to 5 liters per animal of that size on a daily basis. You saw some mineral leaks that were here that we put in. I don't know whether David is there. The forages that you have do not have everything that the goat requires for it to be able to grow. So nutrition is very important. We tend to balance. I said some of those forages are going to be, especially the grasses, are going to be between 5 to 7% protein. Most of them under 5, which is not adequate. And therefore, you need to give them protein. We know that protein is required for growth. Once you give them the protein, they should be able to grow. But then it's not going to come from elephant grass. Okay? You need to find some legumes. And some of you have seen some of these plants being planted. For instance, that is glycidia over there. But they don't like it that much. So if you plant it, they may never eat it. That is Lucina. They like that very much. The one with pods there. We should have them all over here, but we don't. And then back here, if you look at behind, there's another one with pods here, and that is Caliandra. They love that very much. All those that I've mentioned have a protein content of about 22 to 23%, which is adequate for a growing animal. So it's how much of that you can plant to be able to supplement these grasses. For people who are doing goat farming in the southwestern Uganda and the rangelands, they have acacia, which works for them. Acacia has quite a lot of protein, and that it's not in the center here. So what you do, you need to plant some legumes for you to be able to have the protein for the animals to balance their diet. Now the minerals, some people buy salt and put salt in the water, or just buy normal iodized salt. Some get the salt from Lake Katwe, but here we use the balanced mineral, and they'll bring out a block. You'll see them, we tie them here, and these goats love them, and that helps them to balance. This is a piece that fell off. There's this type. It has micro and macronutrients, and also, David, can we bring the minerals, the salt? So these can go through about 10 kilograms in a week of this, and 10 kilograms is about 35,000 Ugandan shillings. Yes, they lick them. They're supposed to lick it. Now, I mentioned that we do supplement these goats. This is 10 kilograms. And if you put it anywhere here, you'll be able to, they will come and just start licking on it. I'll put them here, because they know it and they like it. So that is important in to take care of the mineral deficiencies. There's some rumor that goes on there that some of those cause abortion. I don't know why. I don't see the physiological basis of it. But some people will tell you that in some farms. So once you've taken care of nutrition, you've at least managed the internal parasites and some ectoparasites. Together, you've been able to take care of other bacterial infections that will come. Of course, tetracycline and chemicals will help you with the bacterial infections. The rest is to make sure you get them to where you... One of the key things I want to talk about is housing for these goats. I don't know whether you've seen the different types of housing. This is just one of the types. It's supposed to be, it's customized. It's not what is ideal, but it works based on local resources that you have. So most of these you see, these are all raised floors. And we have used offcuts for the bottom. The challenge with the offcuts, sometimes they're not very straight. Otherwise it's supposed to be a 2x2. Who knows the 2x4? Two by four is this one here. This is 4 inches. This is 2. It's supposed to be 2. So you want to have these. This should be what we call a slatted floor. If you have the money, this is what you should do. You have these lined up, and the distance between the two is about 1/2 inch, just to allow for the dung to go through. Okay. Now what you see there, sometimes you get gaps like this, and then this is how these guys break their legs, because the legs go down. But what we teach and what is supposed to be, of course, if you can find it, you can find those that are straight and use them for the slatted floor, but watch out for the space, about half an inch in between to allow the dung to go down. That's all you need. And it works very well because it separates the animal and puts the animal in a good environment where it can not be in contact with its dung. Okay? And allows cleaning also to be a little bit easy. But sometimes a lot of the dung accumulates down, and then the ammonia starts going off, especially under humid conditions and hot conditions, and then that comes back up and then affects the goats. And that's why you see some of them you'll see the mucus on the nose and also causing a little bit of pneumonia. So even when the floor is raised, you'll have to clean the bottom regularly, at least once a week, to make sure that the dung does not sit on the bottom and then create ammonia that comes back up as if the animal is in contact. Of course, hygienic, it's better, it's hygienic because even the teats, if it's nursing, the teats are not touching the dung. But again, you have to clean that floor. There are some which are not raised. That part is not raised. Of course, we do not house goats in there, but it's not raised. And some people do that. The disadvantages are very clear. Keeping the goats away from their dung is a little bit difficult, and of course you're putting the pathogens closer to an environment where you don't want them to be, and that's a source of diseases. So if you have the money, you have to erect a slatted floor and raise it up. You can look at the spaces. The spaces between the railing on the outside is not so big. You don't want a lot of air, especially when it comes to the young ones. But you want a lot of air to be able to go through and pick up whatever gases are in there and then take them on the other side. So you make sure that the ventilation is really, really good. Okay? Those are the key principles of housing. You don't want water. Goats don't like water. It's a dry place. It has a lot of aeration, and also the goats are not in contact with the dung. If you can achieve those, I think that's the best of the housing that you can have. So what is left are other management issues to deal with. Some people want to dehorn, which has its own advantages, especially if you see how sharp those are. When they fight, which they always do, that's how abortions come about. So those who do it, it works. Here we don't do it. But you can go ahead and dehorn if you want to. Then there's not really a lot that you want to do with these animals. There's no shaving. This one here has a little bit more. There is, and you can see that it's picking up some elements from the boar, which is a little bit more hairy. But it's also picking up some aspects of the Chigezi goat. I don't know if I mentioned from the beginning that you'll see some of these animals that have a little more fur, but on the hind quarters. That is one of the characteristics of the Chigezi. That's how you know that this is Chigezi, but that's what the books say. Okay? So if you see those, and you can see that one, that's a cross of the boar. But also it has some elements of Chigezi in it. So now that you've at least done most of the things that you can do to manage the animals well, people who are interested in buying goats, or sometimes yourself, you have to be able to determine age, and sometimes because Ugandans buy by weight, you have to be in position to give an estimate of how heavy the animal is.